What's good, YouTube? Masex back with another video, and today we're going to be continuing the series looking at the receivers this time, the top 5 receivers for the 2024 class. As I've said in the running back as well as the quarterback videos, this list is fluid, meaning it's subject to change between now and the NFL draft in April of next year. This is right now what I feel based on everything that I've looked at. Let's go ahead and get into it, but before we do, support your boy. Like and subscribe to this video, man. We're getting closer and closer to 1K, and that is the first milestone for this channel, so I definitely appreciate it, and it does really help. Seriously, it helps the channel grow if you subscribe. And also like this video, especially if you did like it and you're a football fan. But without further ado, let's get to it. The best receiver in this class, number 1, is none other than Marvin Harrison Jr. at Ohio State, listed at 6'3", 205 pounds. The son of Hall of Fame great and Colts legend, my hometown Colts, Marvin Harrison Sr., of course. Marvin Harrison Jr., I've said over and over again, is the best wide receiver prospect since Calvin Johnson. He's the alpha of this class, and at the next level, he's going to be that alpha X wide receiver. He has a huge catch radius. He can make the contested catch. He runs routes very well. You can tell that it's a craft that he's worked on since he was young, being the son of one of the best route runners in NFL history, and you can definitely see that in his game. Takes his craft very seriously. 100-yard receiving game after 100-yard receiving game in the Big Ten. Tough loss against Michigan, but he played his part. Marvin Harrison's number 1, and I really don't think there's any debate about that. My number 2 wide receiver, it was tough, man. It was definitely tough, but I got to go with Malik Newman out of LSU. 6 foot, about 200 pounds. I like Malik Newman because he burst on the scene in the SEC at 18 years old. Those are signs of guys going to make an impact at the NFL level. When you watch him, you're going to notice the fluidity, the agility, stop and start explosion. He's very exceptional at that. Very impressive last year as a sophomore against Kool-Aid McKinstry. Most scouts and analysts alike have as the number 1 cornerback in this year's class. He can play the slot on the outside. That's what I predict. I believe that he'll be able to play both. Has natural smooth hands. He doesn't have the most elite speed. I don't think he'll run a 4.3 or anything. I had to go with him at number 2. Balling out this season. I mean, even just look at the stats alone in the SEC. He's dominating out there with Jaden Daniels as his quarterback. Next up at number 3, this was hard, but I got to go with RomarDixon out of Washington. Listed at 6'3", 215 pounds. As you can see, really good size. He can be the X receiver at the next level. That's what you want to see with these guys. Can they command the targets on the outside for the big plays? And that's what RomarDixon does. Having a hell of a year out there in Washington. Him and Michael Penix, I just made a video on him. I mean, they're out there balling. Very tough clutch win against the rivals, Washington State. They're having a hell of a season. RomarDixon obviously is a big part of that. This year, 73 catches, 13 scores, receiving over 1,300 yards. I'm really big on RomarDixon. I love his body control. He's a vertical threat. When you combine 6'3", big play abilities, that equals a cheat code, essentially. Really good in zone. That also lets me know he has field awareness, very key for a wide receiver. When there's times of press coverage, which you don't see as much in college, but you see it a lot more in the NFL, I do want him to command a little bit more presence when he's getting off of jam. But of course, that can be coached, that can be fixed. Number 4, we got Keon Coleman out of Florida State. 6'4", 215 pounds. This year, 46 catches, 11 touchdowns, over 600 yards receiver. Now, he truly has that prototypical X receiver size. A lot of these guys are actually pretty big in this year's class in comparison to last year. A lot of the top guys were on the smaller end, so these guys are a lot bigger, and these guys can still move. He has the size, frame, density. He can add size to his frame as well, Keon Coleman. Foot speed is really good for his height. At 6'4", he's going to be a red zone threat. There's plays even in college, they throw that fade route and they're expecting him to get it, and that's what he does a lot of the time. Now, with his size, I want to see him block a little bit more. I want to see him use a little bit more effort. A lot of times blocking is effort anyways, but he's a little finesse. He gets a little pretty with the blocking. I like him to be a little bit more consistent. And last but not least, this was a tough one because there's a lot of guys I like. For right now, I'm going to go with Emeka Egbuka. His resume is one of the best that's left that I was choosing between 5, 6, and 7. Later on volume 2, I'll go ahead and go maybe 10 deep with the receivers because it's a really deep receivers class. But I got to go with Emeka Egbuka. Not having the best statistical year, 35 catches, 4 touchdowns. He's been hampered with injury as well this year, but I still like his body of work. I'm just not one to overreact with stats, especially if I believe in your talent. That's why even last year with Jackson Smith and Jigba, who lost some stock around this time last year, I pretty much stayed consistent. He was either my 1 or my 2. Emeka Egbuka has the talent to be a top 5 receiver in this class. He's a yards after catch type of guy, breaks a lot of tackles for a wide receiver, very strong. He's the type of receiver that does a lot of things good. Now with that, I'll say he's not elite necessarily at one thing, but he's really good at a lot. All right, there you have it. These are my top 5 receivers for the 2024 draft class. Like I said, the list is fluid, but for right now, I think this is a good list. If you made it this far in the video, as I always say, I deeply appreciate it. If you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe to this video, support the channel. Be on the lookout for videos in the future because they're definitely still coming. Let me know in the comments what you think with my top 5. Who would you include? Who would you take off this list? Just remember, I'm right, you're wrong, but your comments are welcome anyways. With all that said, I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys go. I'll see y'all in the next video. Cheers.